Hi, this is Michael Becker, and in this Tinderbox lesson we're going to talk about rules and edicts, and particularly how we can apply them leveraging all of the things that we've already learned, prototypes and attributes and creating notes and running agents and queries, and starting to use the syntax of action code. So let's jump right in and show you how that's done. So we're going to go ahead and create a prototype. So I'm going to click here. Come on. Click here and add the person prototype, and I'm going to drop in and create a new note or a new prototype, and we're going to call this prototype P to-dos. To-do. All right, and we're going to make it a little bigger. We're going to change its shape so that they look different than any other note. I'm going to hit Command 1 to open up the document inspector, and I'm going to change its color so it looks a slightly different color as well, and I'm going to add it a badge so that my to-do has a little calendar on it. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to add a due date and the checked box. Okay, so there is our to-do. We can go ahead and create a new note. Here is a new to-do. Okay, and we can apply the to-do to it. All right, now if I go ahead and hit check, that to-do is now done, and I can say let's make it done today now. Right, so that to-do is done today, and then when I go back here, the today will have Tinderbox will have automatically changed it to right now. And then, as we were showing before when we were running agents and rules, I can go ahead and run that agent, and I can say, find all of the items that are equal true. All right, so we can run the agent and it immediately finds all of the notes that equal true. So that's a really fun way to go about doing it. Now visually, this is interesting, but visually here's kind of an interesting something else we can do. If I go down here and I say I actually want the badge when I complete my to-dos to have a little green icon like that as opposed to a calendar icon, because that is visually going to help me understand which to-dos are done and not done. So we can do that pretty easily. Let's go ahead back to our to-do prototype here, and we're going to hit Command 1 to open up the action inspector, and we're going to create our first rule. Now, what's the difference between an action, a rule, and an edict? As we talked about before, it's all the same action code. It's all the same syntax. So that the language you're learning to talk Tinderbox, you can apply all over the place, whether or not it's in a query or an action or a rule and an edict. The difference between an action, a rule, and an edict is one of timing. Actions happen immediately, rules happen occasionally, and edicts happen like at the end of the day or when you're about to close a file very occasionally, and very unoccasionally, if you will. So, but the point being is Tinderbox is constantly trying to work for you, and if you have too many rules, too many actions all running at the same time, you're going to slow your file down. So sometimes when you only have, when you want the action code that you want applied run across all of the notes across all your files, and you only need it to happen every occasionally, then you want to do it as an edict as opposed to a rule or an action. But for the purposes of this demonstration, let's start with by applying it as a rule. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, and this is going to be our first conditional action code that will be demonstrated. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to say if checked equals true. Okay, and we can say, if check equals true, sorry, this is an equality argument, so we need to do the double signs here. But then I want the badge to equal, and again, since we want the, this is actually an action requirement, so this is a single quote here, I want it to equal, okay, and else I want the badge to equal calendar. Okay, and then to lock that in, we hit the Enter key. So essentially now what we've done is we've now added our first rule, conditional rule, to our Tinderbox file. So what we're saying is if our to-dos have the checked equals true, then make the badge okay, and if the else, make the calendar be the badge. So let's go ahead and create a new to-do. to-do to show rule. And let's apply our prototype. Okay, now watch what happens. The second I hit OK, that changes to OK. And then if we run, and if we force it to run the agent, you're going to see that our to-do completed task also runs in the agent. So this is pretty exciting. We can go ahead and manage that process. Now let me show you something else though that could be really, really fun. And by the way, I didn't put in my due date for this note. So let's say I want it to be done as 1/2/21, say at like 3 p.m. Okay, so this is when I wanted the item to be done to do, and it's checked and or not. Okay, so we can see how we can be turning this on and off at will, and we're leveraging the rule. Now, if I don't want this happening all the time, okay, let's go ahead and delete this one, and I can say, look, I don't need this to happen all the time, so I'm going to have this be an edict. So it's just going to run every once in a while at the end of the day, so I'm not overloading the processing power of my computer or the Tinderbox file and making it think harder than it needs to be. But I also want to add something new to the process. And so the other thing I want to explain to you in this training is that you can string action codes together. So let's look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and add end date. So not only do I want to keep track of when I wanted to get this done, the due date, but I also want to keep a track of when I got it done, and that's the end date. And look what I can do now. I can go in here and it says I can modify and add an element to this argument. So arguments are separated by the semicolon here. So if you see me add a new argument, I can say now if make end date equal to today. Or now. Okay. And then we can say, let's just do today. And then I can say calendar end date equal to never. All right. So what did I just do here? I just added 2 new action codes, and I'll hit enter. So now what I've done is saying, if the item is checked, then make the badge okay and put the end date to today, to right now. And else make the badge calendar and revert the end date back to never. Now let's go watch what happens here. I'm going to create my new note. Here is a new to-do, and I can apply our to-do prototype. Okay, now watch what happens. I'm going to go ahead here, select the note, and hit the checkbox. Oh, and let's give our end date 1. Our to-do 1/2/21 at 3 p.m. Okay, so now we're going to make this checked. Watch what happens. This date automatically changes, so it says I actually got it done a few hours before I intended to get done, and the icon turns green. This will work for all to-dos that we have going forward. Now here is another to-do. I can go ahead, put it in there, and check it off. And then if we run the agent update, we're going to find, if we do in here, there are now 2 items that are in this note. Now watch again, and so there you go. And then if we just want to say, oh, I actually didn't get that done, I can go ahead and uncheck it. And then if we rerun the agent, you'll see that the agent is only showing the 1 item. And as we talked about before, if you hit Option Command T to open up the toolbar, you can actually see as well this all happening in action here. So I can go ahead and check it off that way too. And then if we let the agent run, you'll see that it's showing up as well. So that is your first kind of introduction to running rules and edicts and stringing together conditional action code and multiple arguments within your action code. I hope you enjoy this. Bye. Good luck.